What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to style our GraphQL app with Tailwind CSS. You've seen the design throughout the videos already, so let's go ahead and get started. So there's the design we'll be recreating, and yeah, let's get started. So let's go to Tailwind, the docs, and let's install it. So npm install Tailwind CSS. Okay. Next is to create a Tailwind config. So just do this command and we'll name it Tailwind.js. Tailwind.js. Okay. Next is to create a CSS entry point. So let me just grab this and let's put it in assets. Let's put it in here. Let's call it main CSS. Okay, what's next? Next, we can just paste this into our postcss.config.js. Let's do that. I think there's a postcss config.js. There it is. So let me just do that. Okay. All right. And then that's it. So let's remove our styles here. The default styles, I think it's an app view. So there's some default style here. So I'm gonna remove all of this. And I'm gonna import our main CSS. So source equals /assets main CSS, I believe. And then let's just see if this works. Let's just put something here. p.bg blue text white. Lorem 20. Okay, see if this works. And I think I forgot to change this. So it's .tailwind.js. Okay, so there we go. There is Tailwind working, and we can start. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is change the font. So the font I'm using in my design is Roboto. So let's import that and use it. So I'm going to go into app view. Actually, no, I'm going to import it in here. So I'm just going to paste in the import from Google Fonts. And I'm using just the regular weight and the bold weight. And now in our app view, I can set the font stack here. Font sans. Let's make it anti-aliased as well. And let's make everything black. Let's make sure to update the font stacks. So right here. So let's put Roboto on top. Okay. Or I can just move this up. That's fine. Okay, now I think it's using Roboto. Let's double check. It is not. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be class. Okay, that should work now. Okay, that looks like Roboto. Awesome. It's Roboto. Cool. Okay, so let's start with the header here, or the nav. So let's do that. Okay. Let me just remove this. And we'll make use of this. So ID nav, and we'll add a class. And I'm just going to make it BG purple dark. I'll just use Tailwind's default colors. And I want a container here. So the whole thing is constrained within a container. And Tailwind does come with one, but you have to uncomment it in the Tailwind config. container. So yeah, I want to center it, and I do want some padding. So let me uncomment that. And let's put these within a container. Okay. And let's see how this looks. Okay, cool. So I'm going to want the logo here and then these two on the right. So let's make it flex right here. Flex. I want items center, so they're vertically in the center, and justify between to send them to the left and the right. And let's add some padding. So now the first flex item is going to be the logo. So let's add a new container for that. Logo here. It's a link. And I want it to go home, so we'll do that. And it's an image. And I already have it in here. It's a SVG. So let's do slash assets slash logo.svg. And we'll do logo here. And then the second flex item is going to be these two. So let's wrap it in a div. And let's see how this looks. Okay, looking pretty good. Let's just fix these. So I'm going to do this. Class equals, so I want it to be white. And I want to have a hover, just of a change of color when you hover. So let's do text gray light when you hover over it. And I want some padding on just this one. Okay. Okay, looks pretty good. And I want to remove the underline. First, okay, that pipe is right here. And I want to remove the underline on all of the links. So we'll do it in here. So we'll just add it after this. A text decoration, none. Cool. Okay, now let's move on to the next section, which should be the hero. So this part over here. And it's within a container as well, but it has a gray background, so we have to do the same thing. So let's do that. So I'm going to put it in home because it only appears in home. So let's just put it up here. Just make some room for it here. Okay, I'm going to name it hero. I want some BG gray light, and I want a margin bottom of 24. And then this is where the container goes. And just put some stuff in here. See how it looks. Okay, looking good. And again, I want to flex, make it a flex container, and then this will be one item, and this will be the other item. And I can justify content space between. So let's do that. So it's going to be flex item center, justify between, and let's give it some padding. So now the two flex items should be, the first one on the left is where this goes. So let's say book recommendation site built with GraphQL. So let's make it an H1. Book recommendation site built with GraphQL. And then underneath it, I'll have built with Laravel. I should just paste this in. Too bad you're watching me type it. GraphQL. Okay, and the other flex item is going to be the hero image. And I also have an SVG for that. And it's an assets. It's called hero SVG. And it's put hero in here. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Okay, it doesn't seem to be flexing. What did I do wrong here? I spelled it wrong, that's why. That's great. Okay, cool. I actually don't want item center here, so let's remove that. Okay. So for this, I don't want it to be the full width, so I just want it to be like here. So let's add a class. Let's see if I can do width 3/4 or something like that. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Let me add a margin here. Just push it down a bit. Okay, cool. So let's try putting the width on here, on the H1 and also on this. So class equals width 3/4. Okay, so that's better. And let's just put a margin here after the H1. Say MB4. Cool. And the line height looks a bit too tight here. So let's do leading normal, I think. Okay. Okay, now let's add, I think I have buttons here. Yeah, so the view books and the view screencasts buttons. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to be another section here, and it's going to be flex as well. And items center. And let's make them anchor tags. Class equals BG purple dark text white. I want it to be rounded. PX4, PY4. This gives a margin right. And I want it to be slightly different when you hover over it. So let's do hover, it's slightly lighter. And it's going to be called view books. See how that looks? Okay, looking pretty good. Just put a margin after the paragraph. Right here. Say 6. Okay. And let's do the other button. So it's going to have a border purple dark, border solid. It's going to be rounded as well. It's going to be purple dark, PX4, PY4, and hover BG purple, and hover text white. This one's called view screencasts. Okay, looking pretty good. Hover works. Awesome. Okay, let's continue working on the next section, which is the grid of books. So let me just turn on my grid here. And as you can see, it's in quarters. So 1 quarter here and 1 quarter for each of the books. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go into the Tailwind docs, and if you just search for grid, we'll just make use of this and change it to our needs. So I want something with a gap. So let's look for that. Column spacing. Okay, so this one is in thirds. And yeah, just make use of this. Okay, so where am I? Okay, I'm going to put it right after the hero. So this is the hero. Let me just end this. And let's see what we get with this. This should be thirds. Let's see if that works. Okay, so it does work. Cool. So let's wrap this in a container. Cool. Okay, this is not aligned here. I think I don't need this one. So let's remove this. And this one as well. Okay, see how that looks. Okay, so now that's lined up, I think. Yeah, cool. And we want quarters. So let's make one more of these and then make them quarters. So 1/3 should be 4. Okay. Okay, looking good. And I want the gap to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to change these twos. I'll change these to 4. Okay. Awesome. So if you take a look at the design, we obviously want several books, and we're going to be looping over some sort of variable that has all the books. So we want it to wrap. So let me show you what I mean. So right now, if I can just keep adding more of these, then it's not going to wrap. It's just going to stay on the same line here. We do want it to wrap, so if we add flex wrap, it will wrap. Okay, that's what we want. Let's just add a margin bottom on them as well. So for these, let's just put MB, say 12 or something. Okay, that looks good. However, we don't want the whole thing to wrap because this first section, the first quarter, is just the menu, and then we want these to wrap. So let's make some changes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the first one to be 1/4 and then the next one to be 3/4. And then within that, I'll have more items. Let's see how that looks first. Okay, that looks good. And from within here, we want these items to wrap. So let's add flex to this one. Flex wrap. And then these ones we want to be 1/3 each. So if class equals width 1/3, let's add that px4 and the MB12. So let's see how this looks. Let's just say lorem 20 or something. And let's add a few. See if that works. Okay, so that is looking like what we want. Let's add a few more, see if it wraps. And it does. So that is looking like the layout that we want. Cool. Okay, so this first section is where we want the navigation to be. So let's do that. So here's where the nav goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that. This is the one. So let's grab this whole thing and let's just see how that looks right here. Let's reindent that. And let's see what we have. Okay, cool. Let's make this an unordered list with some list items. So here, instead of a div, let's make a UL. And these are still anchor tags, but they have to be list items. So let's do that for these. And the same for this one. See where that gets us. Okay. I didn't do the list item correctly for this one. So yeah, this should be a list item because that's the thing we're iterating over. So we don't need this anymore. But this should be an anchor tag now. Let's see if this works. Okay, excellent. And we also want the add book here. So I think I have it down here. Yeah, so let's just add this one too at the bottom. So after this loop, we just add this. And let's wrap that in an li as well. Okay. So I don't want these numbers, that was just there so I can see the ID. Okay. And let's remove the bullet points. So for the UL, I can do class equals list reset. And let's also make it a bit larger. Okay. And if you look at the design, the spacing between them is pretty liberal. So let's add some margin for all of these. Here, here. I want to put it here. Oh, there's already a class on that one. Let me just add that after. So class equals, say, MB6. And let's take this out and MB6. Okay, cool. Looks good. And let's just remove these purple links. So we can do here on the class. So let me just do it for these ones first. So text black, and let's also make a hover state. Hover text gray darkest. So let me just copy this. Oh, there's two. I just want one. And I have to add it to this too. Class equals this, and this one too, I think. Okay. Looking good. There's the hover state. Very subtle, but that's good for me. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, so now let's work on the book images here. So right here, they should be in here and they should be looped over. So let me just grab one of these from, I'm going to grab this one here. So I'll take care of the different cases later on. Let me just try to get one working and displaying correctly. So I'm going to remove these ones and just work with just this one. Okay, so let's paste this in and see what we get. Okay. Okay, so it is not in the grid format that we want. Let's see what's going on here. So we want the thing that we're iterating over to have these classes. So this actually belongs in here, where we're iterating over the books. So let's see if that works. Okay, so I made it smaller, but still not quite what we want. That's because the parent component of this should have the flex container. So let's move this in here. So this is the parent of this. So I think this should work. Okay, there we go. So yeah, there's a lot of nested divs here. And yeah, so that should be fine actually. So let me just move the title and the author underneath. So I'm just going to move this underneath the book. Okay. And you can see it's not a block element, so let's just wrap this in a div. Okay, looking better. And the book's images are almost the same size, but you can see some of them are not the same height. So we can specify a hard height on the image. So here we can add a class on the image. And you just put H64 was what I found worked for me. See how that looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now everything's aligned. Okay, and let's add just a small margin underneath it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we can work on the styling of the title and the author. So it's just bolded and slightly lighter color. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm also going to remove the ID. I don't want that. Just want the title. Okay, and let's add a class on this. Let's make it slightly bigger. Let's make it bold. And is it a link color right now? It is. So let's make it black. And let's make it hover, text, gray, darkest. And let's put a slight margin on it. Okay, let's see if the hover works. Okay, there's a subtle hover color change there. And let's work on the author. And I just want the color to be a bit lighter. Text, gray, darkest. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Okay, cool. Let's also add the link. Right now it's just to, it's only on the title. Let's put it on the image as well. So let's just grab this router link and we can just paste it here. Let's close that. And I can close the router link here. See if that works. Okay, it does. Cool. I think this has to be block, or the margin doesn't apply. There we go. So that moved down slightly. Cool. Okay, now let's work on getting this other stuff to work, because right now we only have this case working. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you look down here, we have if categories all, else if it's featured, else it's just one of the categories. And we can do the same here. And we can just put the conditional on the actual Apollo query. So we can do this. And then we can grab the other cases as well. So I'm going to copy this. Let's put it in here. And that case is, what's that case? Else if it's featured. So we'll do that. For this case, let's put it in here. And then let's do the last case here. It's just else. So I'm just going to grab all this. And let's put a else on this. And let's see if this works. Sorry, I think I put this in the wrong place. This should be up here. Yeah, up here, sorry. Yep. Put that in there. That should work now. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. Let's see if this works now. Okay. We have to change that, but you can see that these are changing. Awesome. Okay, so for featured, you have to do the same thing. So let's do that. So featured is this one. And what did we do again? We added this class for the thing that we're iterating over. So we're iterating over this. Let's add the class. And then for here, we added class equals flex wrap. So let's do the same thing here. Class equals flex wrap. And the thing we're iterating over gets that class. See if that works. Cool. Featured. Okay, so that's working. And these work too. But now these are in a different format as well. So we can just do the same thing we did up here for the all category, or we can just extract this to a component and make use of and reuse it down there. So that's probably the smart thing to do. So let me just copy this. Let's comment it out. And let's make one called, a new component called book listing. And then we'll pass in the book. Cool. Let me close that. And let's make that component. Where's my components? Call it book listing dot view template. Space that in. And we're going to accept a book prop. Script props. Let's just use the array syntax. It's going to be a book. Okay. Let's import that in here. Down here. Say import book listing from components / book listing view, and then we can use this in here. And let's see if I did everything correctly. Okay, so it looks like I did. Let me just refresh to make sure, and it does work. So we have that new book component, and now we can just make use of that in the other ones. So let me grab this, and I'll just leave this in here. So if you look at the code, you'll see that in there. But we don't need this anymore. What is this? So yeah, we can just remove this and say book listing. And same for this book listing. Okay, let's see if that works. So all works. Featured. I don't know why that doesn't work. Why is there no image? Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the image into the component. So it's here still. That's why I was working in the first case. So let me just grab that. Save that. Now the first one shouldn't have. Okay, so now we can just add that in the book listing. Sorry about that. That should work now. There we go. Featured. Awesome. Awesome. Everything works. And is looking pretty good now. Awesome. I say awesome a lot. Okay, let's quickly make it responsive. Not too much work here. So the navigation is fine since there isn't too much in the nav. I just want this to stack after a certain breakpoint. So I'm going to make it, I think 992 is the large breakpoint right there. So we'll just work with that one. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. So up here, so on mobile, we want it to be flex direction of column, so it stacks. But on large screens, we want it to be flex row. Large screens, we also want to justify between. And that should stack now, I think. And it does, cool. I just want some margin on top of the image. So let's do that for the image container. So that is right here. So on mobile, I want empty, say 12, let's say 10. Okay, that's fine. And then large, empty 0. Okay. See if the normal one still works. Okay, it is. Cool. So it looks pretty good. This we can make full width too. It might look weird when it's still kind of big, but you can add more breakpoints if you want. So let's make it full width here. So this thing right here. So on large screens, we want width 3/4. Same with this one. But width full on mobile and up. Width full. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good. Awesome. That's that. And for this, I just want to stack this. So again, it probably looks fine at a certain point. Like here, you can still fit like maybe 2, but I'm just going to stack it. So first, remember how we had 1/4 and 3/4? Let's stack that first. So 1/4 right here. So large screen, we want 1/4. And mobile it up, let's do that. And same for the 3/4 one. With full, large, with 3/4. Okay, so that stacks, cool. And then we also want the same for the thirds here. So I have to do it for each case. Let's just do it for this one. Sorry, not this, it's the categories for this case. So right here, large, width full. And did that do anything? Okay, there we go, cool. Again, that's kind of still a lot of room here, but I think you get what I'm trying to do here. So let's just put this on the other cases too. Let me just grab this. So here, and here. So now it should work for all of these cases. Let me just refresh it first. So all cool, featured, cool. Oh, this is the other thing. We can just delete this. This is what we had before. And all these cases. Awesome. So it is responsive now. Let me just get rid of all this stuff after. What's this? This is the container. So that's the end of it. And container. So all of this stuff. What is this? And that's probably the whole container. Yeah, so all of this stuff we don't need. Cool. Let's see if everything still works. Awesome. It's responsive. Let's see if large screens still work. And it does. Okay, let's quickly make this view work. Not going to make it too pretty, just a little bit. I think I do have a design for it. Yeah, let's just do something like this. Okay, so I think it's called book view. So book.view. Let's just add a container. Okay. And in here is where we can style it. So I'm going to add flex. Let's add a margin. And I'm going to do responsive at the same time here, just so I can save some time. Okay, so the first flex item, I want that to be the image. So let me just make a div for it, and then I'll move the image inside of it. And then the other flex item should have these inside of it. Oops. And even this stuff I want inside. Oh yeah, let me just grab these as well. Okay, see how this looks. Okay. And yeah, let me just style this real quick. So the title first. Class equals text 4XL, font bold. For the author, we want text 2XL, text gray darkest. Let's add a margin bottom. And I think I don't have the description, so let's add that. Text LG. we can leave that and say letting normal. And data book description. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay. So I don't want this to be full width, this part. So let's change that. So up here. So let's do mobile at the same time. So mobile I want width full, but for large screens I just want it to be 2/3. And on mobile, margin left of 0, but on large screens, let me add a margin too. Large screens, MT 0. And large screens, ML 16. Margin left 16. And that's looking pretty decent. And I also want a view link button here. So let's do that quickly. So right under the description, let's add a new container. Let's make it like that. And let's add href of data.book.link. Let's make sure to bind that. Okay. And then let's make it open in a new window. Class equals. So this is just the same button as on the main screen. So this button right here. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, so it looks pretty good, and this should open the link. Awesome. And this is pretty good too. Let me just add I'm gonna remove this link margin. Actually, let's use Tailwind's classes. And I want a mid dot in between. Where's edit? This one's edit. Then I want a mid dot. So that looks pretty good to me. And let's check if responsive works. And it does. Cool. Okay, so the edit and the create screens are the same. So I'm just going to do one of them. And I'm not going to make it look too nice. I don't actually have a design for that. I'll work on the create one, but let's just make it so it's not ugly. So create book, I think I named it. Add book. Oh, sorry, that's the query. Add book view. So let's first add a container on this. Let's add a margin top too. Okay. And I'm just going to make use of the styles I already have down here. So type equals text. So I'm just going to paste in some stuff to add some, because Tailwind and the resets remove the borders for the text areas. So I just added that back in with this. Okay. And I'm just going to do label display block. And that is good enough for me. Let me just add some spacing here. Create book, MB4. And for all the labels, so I'm just going to add maybe a font bold on these. Class equals font bold. And maybe a margin bottom of 2. Okay, that looks pretty decent. So yeah, you can do the same for the edit book, but I'm pretty happy overall with how the styling is. And yeah. So let's do a final check, make sure everything still works. So we can change the categories. Okay, cool. Can we add a book? Just add something. Add author. Let's just add an image that exists so it looks decent. Awesome new book. Let's say Amazon. Let's make it featured and let's put it in business. And there it is right there. Cool. Let's see if edit works. Should work. I didn't change anything there. Yeah, you can restyle this, but change, update. Awesome. So there you have it, guys. We managed to style our GraphQL application using Tailwind CSS. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.